I'm forgetting something.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cross Politic. It's good to be with you on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chalk Knox. I'm the Water Boy. 3 things we always ask you guys to do. We want you guys, of course, share the show.
Yep.
Actually, 4.
I should
We're
do
going to
that
do
right
4.
now.
We're going to do it.
We're
share
actually
share
live.
The show.
Share the
We're
show.
live. This is live. Share the show. Download the app. Join us at the conference and become a club member.
Yes.
Oh, there's 4
There's
now?
4. I said 4.
Midweek fix.
Yep. For the midweek fix. If it's not, never mind.
What? What did he just do?
I don't know. He just says stuff. He just makes stuff up. He just tells us. He just he runs this
Yeah.
place, bossing us around.
We're in trouble.
There are 3 people in this show.
It's been a little bit since we kind of talked about some of the vision of what we're trying to do here at Cross Politic. As you guys know, about 4 we started Cross Politic 4 years ago. Coming up in
Is it really?
September.
Are we-
5? Are we going on year 5 in September?
Happy birthday to us.
In September.
is
It'll be
it
in
really?
September. Yeah.
September.
Is it 5?
We've been
going
doing-
going on 5 years. We'll be wrapping up
5.
4, going on
Yeah,
5.
yeah, so we'll be turning 4.
Turning 5, right? Is that how that works? I forget. Okay. Well, when were we born?
Do they
No, I'm
do,
just kidding.
do they do math in Texas?
Anyways, we started off just as Cross Politic, and then we started seeing kind of God's blessing and what He was doing with our show, and we wanted to kind of expand what we're doing into a network. And that's why we added guys like the Pug Cast. HTBT was the first show
Theology
that we actually
Podcast. Get their names
the
right,
Theology
man. At least
Podcast.
get
I
their
like
names
calling
right.
them
What are
the
you, a liberal?
Podcast. The Pugcast.
The theology. They have a title.
Theology Podcast.
Politic guys.
Patriarchy, 80 Robles, we got to, and I really like our network. It's kind of eclectic.
How to Build a Tent.
How to Build a Tent,
Yeah.
HTBT.
Yep.
It's kind of eclectic network. And now what we actually did, so we had one podcast stream on that network, which we still do, but now you guys can actually go into the Apple Store and find each individual podcast.
Wait, you hear that?
In its own stream.
You hear that?
Angel
Yeah,
got
I
his
hear.
wings.
No.
Angel
I
got
hear
his wings.
all the people cheering. There's like 6 of them, but they're all cheering
Yeah.
though.
But those of you that have gotten attached to having all of them in one stream,
Which is
Still
no
there.
one.
It's still there.
Which
can
is no one.
still do that.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's on their app right now.
No.
Oh, I can get rid of this one.
But within 4 years,
Right.
God has given us. We're projected to have over 3 million downloads this year.
what?
Yep.
3 million.
What?
I think we're gonna do more than that.
I think we will.
And
but
I'm leaking this. I probably shouldn't leak it, but we're
Do
going to
it.
be adding possibly 2 more shows to the network.
2 more shows?
Two
When?
more shows. Well, one is in the process right now. I'm pretty sure he signed his name to the
he
contract.
signed his contract.
And I get to create an open for that, and then
Yeah, the other
So
one will be.
within the next couple of months?
Oh yeah.
Well, I hope by August we'll launch our
One
other
more?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one
A
more
new
by
one.
August. Yeah,
Can y'all be praying for a football show?
Man.
I want
Oh, yeah.
to
We got a-
fight laugh
we got a
feast.
baseball show.
We got a baseball show with Mark Dewey. I love that. And really, Mark
Hey,
should be doing
I got
all
a
the
football
sports.
idea. I got a guy who might be doing a football show.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So y'all be praying for that. That'll be awesome. I'm looking for it.
Ex-NFLer.
Yeah.
Oh,
For real.
nice.
Yeah.
Really?
So if you guys, the news cycle has just been absolutely trippy. 2020, I mean, it seems like I can't believe some of the things that people are saying in 2020. I can't.
Right?
If you guys follow, we've brought up the Seattle City Council, I don't know, several times in the last month and a half, 2 months, because they keep saying things.
They got a socialist on there.
They have a full-blown, she ran as a socialist and
was
been elected.
elected.
I think she's been elected twice.
Who is this?
Remember, we had her
name.
on. We
did the
She was
video.
the one that was
Yeah.
like, we're going to transform America. We're going to transform, we want to get rid of the capitalists.
We need to deconstruct our
That
capital
lady,
economy.
socialist on the Seattle
Yeah.
City Council.
Okay.
So now you have Seattle City Council now, because of CHOP, because of Black Lives Matter, because of the defund the police movement,
Right.
has proposed to cut their own police budget in Seattle, which is
Right.
insane. If you guys have
Wait. After what's happened in Seattle, they're talking about cutting their budget.
Yes,
Right.
seriously,
Okay.
Right.
And if you guys,
I wonder if they've talked to all the parents who lost their children during the time of CHOP, if they think that's a good idea.
Right. Right?
no, they won't take
No.
their
I
they won't take their
well,
testimony.
They couldn't even get the paramedics to some of the children.
Here's the thing. The problem you have, Knox,
Oh.
is that you think this has to do with facts and truth.
Oh,
This has nothing to do with facts and truth.
like that statement.
Exactly. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, you're right.
No, this
So what
is,
does that have to do with?
No, this is a religion.
Yeah,
It's a superstitious religion. Unlike Christianity, which is actually based on truth and evidence and testimony, right? The Bible is actually defends the idea of us using our reason and
Yeah.
logic, because
Right.
God created us in His image to do that.
Right.
All other religions require you to leave your reason at the door somewhere.
There's a leap.
And you have to make a leap, and you have to say, I'm just going to believe this. And this is why you can have a boy with the biology of a boy and the DNA of a boy and the genes of a boy, and they can say, but deep down inside, he believes there's this spirit essence of a girl.
I feel like a woman.
And can you see that? Can you put that under a microscope? No, you have to believe it. You have to believe it. And it's the same thing here. They believe that the police are causing all the problems.
Yeah.
They believe
Right.
that there is systemic racism. They believe that there's all these things, and so they're acting in faith in their gods to
deal with the
deliver
problem.
them.
Yeah. Well, so the proposal's crazy. So they want to defund the police.
Right.
But the city council also has recognized if they defund the police,
Right.
that they're going to have to lay off police officers.
Because you can't.
Wait.
Yeah. Well, you take away money and you can't pay everybody. So
I don't think they have enough faith.
so they
thinking the
know.
same thing.
Come on.
So what was proposed, and they knew that if they lay off police officers, that they black and indigenous people of color, that's the language they use.
Indigenous.
They added indigenous. So BIOPOC.
So
BIPOC.
okay.
That's the acronym they're using for this.
BIPOC.
BIPOC. Yeah.
And do I qualify for BIPOC?
You're not a person of color.
Are you indigenous?
Indigenous.
Do you have any indigenous blood in you whatsoever?
Indigenous Ireland.
Or United States. I mean, you were born here.
I got some Celtic blood.
And so
think it
they
works like
realized that actually people of color might lose their jobs if they defund the police. So what was suggested was, well, why don't we start with laying off white police officers?
Oh, wait, how does it?
That's what was suggested.
Seattle City Council member Lisa Herbold has raised eyebrows after she suggested firing Seattle police officers because they are white. I'm glad some eyebrows were raised.
Well, but my question is, why is it that as soon as they start firing police officers, all the black and indigenous, all the black minorities,
Seriously.
why is it they
People
automatically
of color, please.
Why does BIPOC automatically get fired? Why is that the case?
Well, I don't think it was that they were automatically going to get fired.
No, I mean, but they know that it's going to happen.
Some of them would be.
So
if they actually had a objective standard by which they let police officers go, like based on seniority or based
something like
on
that.
rank or based on what their record of service is,
right,
then it would be relatively even, and among those who would be cut would be BIPOC.
So our bad judgments, if we look at them objectively, we're going to hurt the very people that we would say we want to help.
Yeah. So you can't even look at them. You can't even look at your bad judgments objectively.
Right. So then your bad judgments,
right.
Yep.
If you look at them objectively, we don't like that.
Yep.
So then what we start, this is exactly how everything else is running right now, right? This is exactly, if you look at the African-American history, the whole whiteness chart that they put out, I can't remember who that was.
Showing up to work on time,
right.
hard.
If you look at it objectively, and you start looking at it and you say, well, this is exactly the kind of people that we want to have in society, but we said this is whiteness.
Right.
Ooh, we just gave them the center ground. And so what did they do? They took it down because they said it wasn't helping the conversation, right? That's what they said. They said this wasn't advancing the conversation. And the same thing, if they looked at what they had to do objectively, it says, man, we would actually hurt black people if we did this.
Right.
So then let's not look at it objectively, not look at it with a standard, and let's just fire white people.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is kind of
We're in trouble.
some of the same reasoning for the 1964 civil rights legislation a little bit, right? Because they saw some problems. They wanted to do away with some of the Jim Crow laws, some of the lingering Jim Crow laws, and so forth. But that wasn't good enough. Right. They had to not only do away with those problems, but then they also had to kind of set up a different standard for people of color. Is basically what happened, and it wasn't really objective what they were doing. They saw problems that they wanted to fix, so they did away with those problems. But then they added layers to that standard that you can't really.
Well, yeah, I mean
that is now coming around to bite us in the.
The problem is trying to force people to be moral. There's criminal standards that are moral. That the civil magistrate is qualified and equipped to hold that line.
To make judgments on.
Don't murder. Right. Don't steal. Protect private property. But that's what the civil magistrate does. The civil magistrate is not a pastor.
Yeah.
The civil magistrate is not a parent.
Yeah.
They're not mom and dad. But when they try to become pastors, when they try to become counselors, and they try to become parents, they're horrible at that.
Yeah.
And what if your mom walked around with a machine gun? You know, with the machete hanging off her. You know,
Brandishing a gun.
I mean, like,
And what do you think a switch is?
not a machine gun.
Have you seen how they beat you with a switch? No, you're right.
We talk about a militarized police, which
Yeah.
is a problem.
Yeah.
But at least you're kind of in the same ballpark.
Sphere.
And militarized family.
yeah.
I mean, that's thugs. That's gangs. That's what you have with, back in the day with all the, the family feuds, where people are murdering each other all the time.
Heffets and McCoys.
Exactly. But that's not what God designed them for.
That's right.
And so that's what this is, though, is it's basically you've got a major sin problems, and there's some crimes mixed into it. But what you need for sin is the gospel. Yeah. What you need for sin is parents who love their little ones and spank them when they're small, so they don't end up in the penitentiary, so they don't end up at
Shooting people in the streets or
chopped.
whatever. Yeah.
I just want to right now take the moment to invite everybody. We are trying to do our best now when we're live like this to invite people. We're trying. When we're trying to invite people to
answer questions.
Answer questions that they pop up in here. So I'm listening to you, but I'm also watching the stream.
But you're not really listening. You're not really listening.
Question,
okay, all right.
I can pop it in there.
Ask the question.
Not really listening.
You know what's funny is that actually the follow up news item that we have here with you remember the couple in Missouri. You had Mark and Patricia McCloskey. I love that. I love that last name.
The pink polo.
The pink polo. You know, there was Black Lives Matter kind of rally came through their neighborhood or protest came through the neighborhood because they're going to the mayor's house.
Right.
Okay.
And it was a gated community.
And remember why they're going to the mayor's house?
Because they're protesting the mayor.
Because the mayor put out everybody's address and
doxed them?
Yes.
Who?
The mayor put this is in St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was a she. I can't remember the name, but that's why they were showing up there. Was because she had put publicly out some of the people who were protesting put their information out publicly for everybody to see.
Some of the protesters.
She doxed them.
So this is why I think it was her. We should look it up.
So,
but this is why they're going now to the mayor's house.
So
the McCloskeys are. But my understanding is this protesting group comes up, and some of them have weapons. Some of them are brandishing weapons and are hollering at the McCloskeys and saying that they're going to come into their house.
So it was reported.
They're threatening
I
them,
haven't
right?
confirmed the weapon, but it was reported that some of them had weapons.
Right.
But that hasn't been confirmed. We do know the McCloskeys had weapons.
I saw a picture.
And I
saw a picture with the crowd. I mean, unless it was somebody doctored the picture. I saw a picture with the McCloskeys on their front porch. And there's a crowd, and most of the mainstream media cropped out the crowd. But if you actually zoom out and saw the crowd, there's at least one guy that looks like he's holding a rifle.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it was a broke.
But here,
it could have been a stick.
But to fill out the story, the protesters, the Black Lives Matter protesters, broke through the gated community. So the gated community is all private property,
right?
And when you break through illegally, you're trespassing.
Yeah,
right.
And so they actually ripped the hinges off the gates and
No, actually, it's not what happened. They didn't rip the hinges off the gates until after the situation.
Until after?
When they got
on their way out?
The way out.
Was it on their way out?
It really was.
There you go.
Slam
the door. Slam the door.
So regardless, they broke through the gates
they went
illegally.
The gates.
They were trespassing.
They shouldn't have been there.
They were trespassing.
They did not have a code.
And
they say the gate was open.
Well, still, you can still be trespassing.
Of course it was.
And so the McCloskeys are holding guns because the cops weren't there to protect them.
Now, Mrs. McCloskey with her gun.
Her little 38, was it? Was it 38 or something? It's a cute little gun.
Kind of worries me.
Yeah.
You see her waving that thing around?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm not sure she ever held that thing before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get your finger off the trigger.
I agree with you. But anyways, the point is they got indicted. They got arrested for brandishing weapons.
And charged by the DA.
Charged by the DA.
Actually arrested or just indicted?
They charged them.
Okay.
Yep, they got charged.
Okay.
And so the top prosecutor, it's actually Kim Gardner. She's a St. Louis attorney. She charged them. And
felony unlawful use of weapon.
Yeah, that's right.
What's a St. Louis code?
Well, yeah, so I think the castle law there allows them, if they feel, they actually have a pretty loose castle law.
Okay.
In Missouri.
So in Missouri, I guess surprisingly, I think they just changed it a couple years back actually, but it's pretty loose there. So
they felt their lives were threatened.
They can use their gun to insist that someone moves from the point of being threatened. They can use that.
Did they discharge the weapons?
No.
They did not discharge the weapons. No, but I think what the DA is seeing is that the way that they were handling the guns was cause for assault, right? That's when you take if I was to take a weapon and say, listen, man, you keep talking to me crazy and things going all of a sudden, like I'm telling you,
you're threatening them
that's
with
a
the gun.
threat.
Yeah.
That's a threat.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, the way that she was handling her gun, now the husband seemed to handle his gun a lot better. I mean, but she was definitely handling her gun in a careless way.
But if there were people threatening them verbally, we're going to come into your house. We're going to come onto your property.
Yeah.
Is it illegal to brandish a weapon?
Yeah, but brandishing a weapon and then using it and pointing it at someone as if you're going to shoot them is different than brandishing a weapon. Brandishing a weapon, right? You can try. Someone says,
just reminding people,
I'm
hey,
gonna
I'm
rob
packing.
y'all.
I'm
like,
packing.
I don't think that would be a good idea, my friend.
Right.
That would not be good.
Yeah. Does the law actually make a distinction between those two things?
I believe so.
In the Missouri Castle Doctrine?
Bearing a weapon as opposed to pointing a weapon at somebody.
Remember in Georgia, that was one of the things that the DA argued in case of the
Arbery?
In the Arbery situation with the dad and the son, that they have the right to publicly show their arms. Right. Now, as soon as they say Arbery attacked him, then they have the right to point because they were at that point he was attacking.
Right.
Yeah.
They are going to have a hard time, I think, in court arguing for the fact that they were attacked. To before they branched. That's what I think they're gonna have a problem. But here's the thing. I think as Christians we need to think biblically about this, as well as we need to also. The whole problem with this is partiality. The DA sees a mob there, and where's the arrest for everybody who was trespassing?
I know. No.
If there was someone
where's all the indictments?
who was brandishing a weapon, where's the arrest for that person?
Right.
And for destruction of property.
Where's the arrest for destruction of property? Where's the charges for all of that?
Right.
There are none that I know of at this point.
Right.
So let's say that there is a case there that could be made for this family.
But it needs to be handed down with all the other charges.
Then everybody needs to get a spanking.
Yeah.
If we're going to do it.
Right.
And so, like, if you think that what she did was bad, then to come inside their property and to verbally threaten them, right? Then that you can't come inside of somebody's property and say, "Hey, I'm going to go here and kill your dog."
Right.
That's reason to say, okay,
that's a threat.
But my understanding is that they were threatening to come inside their house.
Yes,
they were saying, "We're going to come into your house. We're going to take over your house." And the McCloskeys were saying, "No, you're not.
Right.
We're going to defend our house.
You can stand there and at your door and defend your house with your gun
all day,
brandish
all
all
day.
you want. Pointing the gun at someone is not really the way. You need to be in the defensive mode. Until you are attacked or the place that and we need to know that we need to learn this with gun safety, especially. I was thinking about this. There's rules for gun safety. First of all, treat every gun like it's loaded.
Right. Don't point at anything you're not willing to shoot
or kill. Right. Make sure that you are looking at your target and beyond your target, and don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to kill something.
That's right.
And so, in any of those situations, we all know, everybody who owns a gun who's practicing all those safety laws, as well as knowing how they need to respond and de-escalate the situation and all that, we already know. We should be having that in our mind all the time. Our guns are not tools just to make people be manipulated. They are tools.
What do you think? I agree.
To put down someone who is causing harm or in the process of about to.
How does one of the things we've talked about on here? I wonder if you've thought about this more, Knox. Is most of biblical criminal law is punitive.
Yes.
It punishes people for actually doing some harm.
Yeah.
So the classic case is the parapet around the roof law, which says basically there's a law that says Israelites must have a parapet, a fence around the roof. The roof was the party place. It was the deck. It was the porch. Is where everybody hung out in the evenings. But the thing is there is no penalty for not having the fence. There's a command, you should.
Harsh judgments for not.
And then it says if somebody's on your roof and falls off,
it's on you.
That bloodshed will be on you.
That's right.
You'll have the blood guilt on you. Now, presumably somebody could have had a house where they didn't have the fence up, and they partied up there for many years, and no one ever fell off, and there's no punishment.
That's right.
Other times, people fell off, there was bloodshed, and they're liable for that blood.
Right.
Now, that's there's several things being demonstrated there. One, though, is that the fact that there's no punishment for not having the fence.
Right.
There is a punishment for the actual bloodshed.
Right.
And so the law is not preventative. There's not inspectors going around in Israel writing people up for not having the fence.
Right.
My question is I agree that it's foolish.
Yeah.
For her to be swinging the gun around.
Yeah.
And I see it, and I'm like, you know,
yeah.
please. And I think at one point she swung in front of her husband, and I'm like, you know,
Don't flag the man that's got the gun too on your side.
jeepers.
Yeah.
But should that be a crime?
Right. That
To point a gun at somebody.
And this is biblically. This is what I mean by thinking about it biblically, because
What
I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. Is I don't think it should be a crime.
No.
I think at most the law enforcement should give her a warning of some kind.
Yeah.
And you know, that kind of thing. But then what happens though is if the gun goes off
Right.
unintentionally, there ought to be harsh consequences for that because she was being
Unjustly shooting someone or something.
She was being reckless.
Yeah.
She was being reckless. And so the law generally is punitive, not preventative.
That's right.
But our modern nanny state has become glutted with laws that are all preventative. You can't do this because something bad might happen,
Right.
which is basically what happened where we are. I mean, what's the end road of that? All you healthy people need to wear masks.
That's right.
They don't
That's
do
exactly
anything.
right.
They don't do anything at all.
They don't work.
But they might.
It's mass confusion.
Maybe they will. Maybe. We don't know. Probably not, but maybe.
I got Neil to laugh at that.
And
one.
but that you know,
This is the thing. And
seatbelt laws are the same thing.
Right. I know.
I mean,
Exact same thing.
we invited this kind of intrusion into our private lives when we let them tell us you can't use your cell phone in your car.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, no, it's none of their business. Now, if somebody's texting and driving and crashes, they are liable.
hurt someone.
and they're
Yep.
liable for the damage. They're
Yep.
liable, and if someone dies, I mean, they should be
The current
prosecuted.
situation is just the insurance pays for it. That's it.
Right.
That's right. It's not true just punishments in the car crash. It's just
Right.
insurance will cover it.
So here-
even if that person dies.
Like this is where I was thinking about this a lot, because I'm like, biblically, there's nothing wrong with what they did, especially since the property is theirs.
Right.
If they don't want someone to be there,
Right.
they don't want someone to be there.
Yeah.
And they can choose how to get rid of that person. Now,
well, that's the point of a gated community.
right,
too.
right.
Yeah.
It's sort of an indication.
Right, right. But I mean, I can't take your life because you're on my property.
That's right.
Okay.
And this is also goes back to Exodus, is it 22?
Yep.
Where you have the break-in law,
Right,
Which
exactly.
says that if you kill someone in the daylight,
Yep. Right.
who broke into your house,
Yeah.
The blood's on your
the
hands.
blood is on your hands. You may not kill someone who breaks into your house, even if
Right.
they're on private property.
Right.
If you can see them. Now, if it's at night, it says there's no blood. Shields.
no-
No
yeah,
blood.
right.
So if it's in the middle of the night, because the reason is because you can't see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I would say that can be applied by analogy. That law
Sure.
can be applied by analogy when there is a certain amount of unknown about the level of threat. That would be like it being at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a legitimate fear for your life.
Right.
Then that would be the equivalent of being at night. But if you can see them,
Yeah.
and you can see that they're not pointing weapons at you, that they're not coming at you to do lethal harm,
Yeah.
you may not come at
lethal
them with
harm.
lethal
Yeah,
harm.
right.
You can
Right.
restrain them. You can run. You can do other things.
There are multiple things to do. Again, for this situation, if they would have saw a mob of 60 or 70 people coming through their private entry with weapons, that they were just like them.
And even then, like you see the weapons. I mean, fire in the air first.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, don't fire at all.
I mean, well, I'm saying if they have weapons,
Right.
If they have weapons and they're coming at you, that's a lethal threat.
If they're coming at you, but if they're coming in to go to the mayor, which is what they were intending to do,
well, you don't know all that. I mean,
but listen, if somebody is, until they come onto your, and I don't think anyone actually, at least from the video I've seen, got to their property. They just saw them coming and were assuming that's
up
where
the
it
street.
was.
Well, they did come up the street, right past
Of
their
course,
property.
but here, look, we have to know at what point we engage.
Sure.
And at what point that we need to be ready here. At what point we need to stop the force.
Yeah.
We need to think through those things, because just because we're afraid doesn't always mean that we get to engage.
No, it's true.
There needs to be a credible threat that is engaging on you at the moment before you do something.
Right.
And when we get ready to be the first person that sees that we're going to take a life, we got to remember we're taking a human life.
No, absolutely.
And this is-
you can't only be pro-life about the babies.
Right.
I mean, we're big Second Amendment rights supporters.
Yes.
But we should be so with a thoroughly biblical pro-life stance, which means that we are not out to take life.
I want to read this.
Unless we absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Even for our enemies, a friend of mine, Carl Berglund, he wrote this, and he said he teaches to his sons, and this is like, I'm going to adopt this and make this the Shannon thing too.
Okay.
He says, avoid rather than check rather than hurt, hurt rather than maim, maim rather than kill, for all life is precious, nor can any, even that of the meanest creature, be replaced.
Yeah. That's good.
And then it goes on to say, do all that you can to refrain from engaging, but if you must engage, you strike hard, and you strike fast, and you strike continuously until your opponent is no longer capable of rendering a threat.
Yeah.
Then stand down.
Yeah.
For we are men, not dogs.
That's pretty.
We need to adopt that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Because most of the time when we fight, especially what I was taught from the streets, you fight, you kill.
Yeah, right.
You go for the jugular. You get,
and the principle that's actually underlying that is the biblical principle of eye for eye, tooth for tooth.
Yeah, right.
It's God saying that is, you only meet force with equal force.
That's right.
Threat with equal threat. As much as it depends upon
Lex
you.
talionis, yeah.
That's justice. But our temptation is exactly what you said. Somebody snubs you and you want to take off their head.
Right.
Right.
So, someone cuts you off in traffic and you want to punch them.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not equal at all. I mean, that's our hearts. That's our evil hearts.
Yeah.
Our murderous, hateful hearts that
Yeah.
Jesus addressed in the Sermon on the Mount.
Right. I mean,
you saying you jerk.
Right.
That's a murderous, instinct.
Right.
That's in the heart of every son of Adam.
Have you guys? I don't know if you guys seen this, but New York Times did an investigation and found that some of the companies in China are using slave labor to make our masks. So all the masks that you see
Is this
being
news?
worn.
Are they? Is this actually going out? The people are.
This is actually going out. So New York Times did this investigation. And there's also been other corroborating video evidence.
Kudos, New York Times.
I know. It's pretty impressive.
I don't think I'd ever say that.
But I think, one of the things that we've been trying to push on the show is, okay, if you have to wear a mask, for certain reasons,
Sure.
we understand that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest thing that we've been trying to get at is to be thinking about what the whole mask thing means in the first place.
Don't just go along.
well, and the fact that it don't work.
Yeah, and that cloth masks have
Well,
0%
and
effect against transmissibility of the virus.
I mean, I've been saying for a while that I thought the N95s and the ventilator masks even worked because, they use them in the hospitals and all this kind of stuff. And you're sharing stuff with me that's even saying that the studies are coming out saying that even the N95 and the ventilator masks don't work.
Dennis Rancourt did a study on this. He's a PhD on
from Canada.
Yeah, from Canada. And he did a full
Can
study.
we trust him if he's from Canada?
That might be the only people we can trust
I
right
don't
now.
know, right?
That might be the only folks, which is scary. But he did a huge study on this, and he did N95 masks along with, and he found all the studies that were done. Listen, I don't trust any study that was done in the 2020.
Oh, no.
That was
right
done
now-
in the last 3 months.
Yeah, none of them. I don't trust any of those. But he went all the way back to 2004, found Japan studies, found other studies from 2002,
So he's like
2010.
collating other studies.
And all the studies that he's found, all the ones that they did, randomized control testing,
Right.
N95 mask, medical surgical mask, do not stop viral infections.
Right.
Do not stop influenzas.
Right.
They don't do it.
Right.
And so, they did home test studies with the patients and the workers. They just don't work.
I don't know if you saw the other study I shared maybe a few weeks back now, but there's a number of studies in dental practices about the use of these masks.
Yeah.
And apparently, this study actually said that even in the dental care industry for the last number of years, people have been questioning why. Basically the only reason you wear it is to be polite now because you're like looking in someone's mouth.
Yeah.
But the actual viral protection is
Insignificant.
nearly nil.
Yeah.
And this was particularly in dental contexts, but it's like, mouth on mouth kind of, kind of thing. And it's like, it's kind of a polite thing to do, but it was actually started 100 years ago and it's basically just a tradition now because everybody feels awkward if you're, kind of looking.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, they're like medically not actually, anyways, it's ridiculous. But the thing that I want to talk about this story though, out of the New York Times about where are the masks coming from?
No, China. So there's in the last, I think, number of months, there's been a growth in manufacturing companies to supply all
can't
these masks
imagine why.
in China. So it went from there's 4 companies or something in the last year. Now there's 50 companies in China that now produce masks.
Is anybody making a
masks.
lot of money?
Well,
Yeah, seriously,
it took a minute for all them to invest. That's why they didn't want you to buy
And
any at
now
first.
17 of these companies out of these 50 companies in China participate in this Uyghur slave trade and to use them as employees. To use them,
Slave labor.
Slave labor to build the mask. So 17 of the 50-ish companies in China apparently are using the Uyghur slave labor to produce masks.
Black Lives Matter is all over this, right?
Yeah. Well, the NBA. I mean, NBA, who's using China's revenue.
Seattle City Council is going to cancel all their mask orders, right, and make sure they're only produced by free, well-paid.
You better stop.
BIPOC, indigenous. Produced people, right? I mean, what?
No, they're just going to fire all the white people who work there.
You guys know.
So we have millions of people wearing masks nationwide, all built at the hands of slave labor,
right.
or most of them built at the hands of slave labor.
That is,
it's hilarious.
God tells the best stories. I mean, this is terrible. But like right in the middle of all this, where there's all these protests throwing down statues.
It's hilarious.
Our nation is crushing 1 million people. Yeah. I mean, they believe somewhere between 800,000 and 2 million people are held in detention camps, Uyghur detention camps.
Yeah.
These are Turkish people that have migrated to this particular region in China, in Western China.
How bad must it be in Turkey? My goodness.
Many of them are Muslim. I've been told by listeners that some of them are Christians.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
But they have been detained and arrested in order to be put in re-education camps, where they are forced to work, and apparently many of them are making
masks,
face masks now.
Yeah, that's right.
For us.
This hypocrisy made me think of last year Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes. You watch his whole monologue. There's a couple etchy, sketchy parts in it, but generally speaking, his monologue just nails Hollywood. But then reading this article and kind of doing a little research on this whole mask thing, it made me think of kind of this moment at the Golden Globes.
Apple roared into the TV game with a morning show, a superb drama, a superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So, well, you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and...
And they're all clapping. He's talking about you. There's a Paul Washer moment.
3 hours long.
Look at Tom. Look at Hanks. Look at Hanks.
Their clapping is like, if you can't say amen, that's their way of saying ouch.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he starts the whole monologue by saying, basically, this is the last time I'm ever going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm burning it down.
This down.
I'm here to burn you down. But you see what he's saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you say you're woke.
Yeah.
And you're getting all your stuff from slave labor in China.
Well, you say you're woke, and your legislation just incentivized millions of slave labor jobs in China.
Well,
that's what happened.
Even before that, though.
Yeah.
He's talking about this before the mask mandate.
Right. Oh, yeah.
He's talking
about... I'm
about...
just applying it to our media context.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, we're piling it on. Like, this is a year ago.
Right.
This is a year ago before mask mandates.
Yep.
And he's going after Amazon and Apple and all these people who are already being supported by slave labor in China.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Slaves in China are propping up our wealth.
Yeah, but we treat them really good, though.
Do we?
No.
We detain them and we take. I mean, have you guys heard? I mean, the stories of what they're doing to the Uyghur people.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, it
sounds familiar, you know.
Oh, it's. I mean, detainees are forced, to pledge loyalty to the Communist Party, to renounce the religion, to sing praises for communism. They have to learn the Mandarin language. People can get detained for not speaking in Chinese. Wow. They can get detained for growing a beard.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're all in trouble. They can get detained for wearing a traditional clothing. They can. And this is they live in these, and they live in concentration camps. Like there's prisons. Like there's wires around this, and they call them re-education camps.
Yeah.
And the Chinese government officials say that they're helping these indigenous people, these BIPOC people,
seriously,
to get back on the right track. This is what they say. No, listen. Women have shared stories of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
There's arranged marriages where they try to get these Uyghur women shacked up with Chinese men.
Yep.
And basically it's required, and if they don't go through with it, they can get detained until they're re-educated.
Right.
And sometimes they're raped.
Right.
Sometimes they're just forced into it. They've been forced to undergo abortions, have contraceptive devices implanted in them against their will.
So they can't procreate. So the Uyghur people can't procreate and everything. But this is what communism wants: uniformity. When me and my wife, when we went to, we did a little mission trip to St. Petersburg, Russia. Man, it must have been 2007, 2008. And a number of people that we met were Sasha, Alexander. They all had the same names. Because in communist Russia, to have a different name meant that you stuck out.
You were being a rebel.
Well, and that you were noticeable.
Yeah.
And the same thing with what's going on in China. It's like you got to wear their clothing, you got to speak their language, and you don't want to stick out.
Right.
Because what you'll
get detained.
That's right.
Just notice this though. Okay. Again, we've been piling this on, but catch this. All of the things that you might think that our modern leftist high priests care about. The mistreatment of women.
Yeah.
Right.
The sexual abuse of what happened to Me Too.
Yeah.
Right?
Me Too China.
Slavery.
Yep.
This is racism.
Right.
Okay, this is
Uyghur racism,
targeting
absolutely.
an ethnic group.
Yep.
Okay? And being detained, enslaved, the mistreatment of women, sexual abuse, all these things. And where are the leftists crying out against this injustice?
Well, we need to wear face masks.
Well,
okay.
How black is the NBA again?
Pretty black.
Yeah.
It's like 75, 80% of the players in the NBA
I think
are
I call
black,
that black privilege.
It's to be born 7'2".
To be that good.
But when you think about this, you go back to the whole thing that happened with Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And that whole nine.
Yeah,
it's still going.
And the few NBA guys were like, "Hey, I'm with Hong Kong."
Yeah.
And then there's this backlash.
Yeah. I mean, a huge backlash.
What this tells you, I'll let you finish.
Maybe you're going to say exactly what I was going to say. But, you have this, and then all these black players that are sitting up here with the whole Black Lives Matter, the NBA has been bending over backwards. They were just recently talking about putting Black Lives Matter on their basketball
T-shirts
court.
And
on their basketball court with the Black Lives Matter on it. And so they're bending over backwards to say, man, this is wrong. We've treated black people.
Uyghur lives don't matter.
China comes up and says, the way we treat our people here is right, and you will bow to it. And they say, yes, master.
Yep.
They say, yes, master. All these supposedly strong 6 foot, 7 foot, bold black men, all of a sudden they're cowards.
They're all like, well, it's really complicated, and we don't really want to get into politics.
You know why? Because they're shoe deals.
Yep.
You know why? Yep. They need that slave labor. Yep. They've turned into the new masters. Because
China's the new master.
They are too.
Yeah, and they're joining it.
They're joining it.
They're the ones who were the people who ran the slaves.
Oh yeah,
on the plantations.
Yeah, except they're getting paid way better than those guys.
They're the foreman.
They're the foreman of the crew.
Foreman on the plantation.
High level foremen.
And they got Uyghurs, and they've got the Hong Kongers.
Yeah.
They're getting crushed beneath them.
Yep.
And they're just saying, well, it's really complicated, and there's nothing we can do about this. And here's the thing, though. Is this shows you that Black Lives Matter is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that lightly.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that it's completely nonsense.
Yeah. So make the connection between the slave trade and Black Lives Matter.
They don't care.
The hypocrisy that's just there.
They don't care.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the abortion stuff.
What do they care about? They care about communism.
Yeah.
Ooh, Marxism.
What is this all about, really? It's Marxist. Yeah. It's communist. Why? Because when will they bend? When will they bow? They will bow when communist China says, "Stay out of our business."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And that's
right.
That's what Black Lives Matter wants.
And they're like, okay.
And it's all the same tactics too.
Has nothing to do with justice. Has nothing to do with equality.
So the issue is that the connection is not Me Too.
Right.
The connection is not slave labor. The connection is communism between communist China and Black Lives Matter.
That's really where the rubber meets the road.
And this is the leftists. This is what's going on in Seattle.
Right.
This is what's going on with the leftist ideology.
Right. Notice what they're doing with the Uyghur people, though. They're doing the exact same thing that Antifa and the Black Lives Matter movement and all the socialist people are doing. They got to remove your history.
Right.
They got to get rid of your gods.
Right.
They got to get rid of your marriage. Right.
That's what communism wants.
Take down the monuments.
Yep.
Right.
This is the French Revolution all over again. Right. And the difference between the two is French Revolution was all about removing God as the standard and everything that connected you historically to the foundation. So that's why they even started with year one.
Right.
Year one of what?
Right.
Genesis 1:1? No, that's what they were doing.
They're starting a new world.
A new world.
Yeah.
When
we will be God. We will create ex nihilo.
Yes.
We will start things over. They even tried to redo the calendar.
And this is a difference. And people need to really understand this. The war for independence that we fought was another chapter in true independence. It wasn't a beginning of the story.
Yeah,
we continued a legacy that we thought was biblical, right? And so that's a complete difference. What they're trying to do is the exact same thing. They want to remove you from your historical roots because if they can remove you from that, remove you from God, remove you from your family, remove you from your marriage, now they have communism. They're the new God.
But it tells you where their real allegiance is,
and that's where it is.
And the play for the revolution is ultimately it's tyranny. It's actually totalitarian. What they're doing is they're disrupting everything, confusing everything, uprooting everything.
That's right.
Why? So that there's someone so they can manipulate, they can run things, so they can be gods.
Right.
They promise heaven.
Yeah.
They promise utopia.
Right.
They promise harmony
All
and
your problems will
equality.
be solved.
But the only way they can deliver that kind of thing is with a gun.
That's right.
Because they are not gods of grace.
That's right.
They don't have a Messiah who died.
Right.
They don't have. They're not a God of love who gave His only begotten Son for ruined sinners, for rebellious sinners. That's the God we serve. He saves by sending His Son to die for us.
Right.
Communism, totalitarianism must have us die for them.
That's right.
We must die for the state, and some people have to die. Some lives are worth less than others, like Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, and babies.
Yep.
Well, send your offerings to crosspolitic.com.
Join the club. Join the club.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until Sunday, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
That's a tough way to end it.
Yeah, it was just right with the gospel.
Yeah.
It's great.